So, this is my latest book. I haven't really done any marketing because I am absolutely dreadful at that. But I thought I would try and read a chapter or a part of a chapter, see how we go. This is a story about Talana. She's a girl from the country who has big dreams, yeah? She's inclined to sort of like the sciences, engineering. She greatly admires her grandfather, who's the village tinker who fixes everything and builds things and stuff like that. And she wants to go to the big schools like he did when he was younger. Only thing is, much like our world, it is quite patriarchal and girls are oppressed a bit, at least in this part of the world. And she has to fight if she wants to see her dream of flying to the edge of the world and seeing what's over the edge. Originally when I planned this, it was just supposed to be an adventure book. It's just supposed to be about a girl who builds a ship and just goes off sailing and goes on all these adventures and sees all this strange stuff and all that jazz. But I'm a bit too logical myself. And I'm like, wow, you know what, a 12-year-old girl building her own bloody flying machine, something that's never been done before, is like, just, that's illogical. Like, how is she going to build this thing? She needs some foundations. So then I had to send her off to school, and what was supposed to be an entire book of adventures with maybe 1 or 2 chapters of building the machine turned into about 2/3 of the book of her at school and learning to build this thing before actually sailing off. And then the final third is the adventures. So it didn't quite pan out the way I planned. But anyway, so we'll start off with her first. She has finished her lower school education, and now she's going into the upper sort of university class. And this is her very first class that she attends. It's been a rough ride up to this point, and you know, she's made some friends, so it's not all bad, and she's got some people behind her. And she's about to enter the completely unknown world of going from pretty much high school to university and the differences that entails, at least in this world. So, chapter 15, An Unusual Professor. Talana tried to make herself as small as possible. She didn't have to try hard. The other students were good at pretending she wasn't there. They stood in the murky room, excitedly chatting with each other. The first year of being an upper school student was certainly something to be excited about. Even Talana felt the electricity in the air. The younger boys were very loud, but even the older ones seemed excitable. High tables with various instruments were spread around the central space, with only 2 stools to a workbench. Cabinets filled with vials and jars were spaced around the walls, and there was a deep-set alcove to the side with a kiln and wash area. There was a certain feel in that room, like it was alive and soaking up the excited chatter. Some of the less social students ambled around, studying the various objects, while the rest continued to talk, loosely gathering around one of the tables. "Attention this way, if you please," came a sudden masculine voice. The room instantly fell silent. Nobody saw the teacher enter. Talana looked across at the teacher's table at the end of the room where a very large creature man stood. It was hard to say he was a lion, but he certainly looked lionish. He was covered in pale orange fur that was slightly shaggy in appearance, but he had no mane. He wore a strange style that Talana had never seen before. A white long-sleeved shirt gathered up at his elbows, and a burgundy waistcoat with golden crisscross diamond patterns embroidered into it. He also had a pair of round glasses sitting on the end of his lionish nose. These were clearly made for man, as he was constantly adjusting them. His head was slightly tilted, and a friendly smile passed over his face, revealing small canine teeth. "Welcome. I am Professor Cotled, and I will be your teacher for elementary chemistry. Please take a seat at any of the tables. Remember where you sit, as it will be your place for the entirety of the year." The students dove into a panic at this information, and there was a rush to win a seat where alliances and friendships were already made. Talana was already at a table, not quite at the back, but near enough. She watched as the students fought over their spots, the silent duel or dance of increasingly panicking students picking up in pace. no one seemingly wanting to sit by her. "Excuse me, sir," a student bravely spoke from a newly claimed table. "Are you a manticore?" "A what?" The man-creature seemed somewhat taken back, as an older youthling student was resigned to sit next to her. He did manage a kind smile in her direction before quickly looking away, focused on his two friends sitting at the table across from them. "Do I look like a manticore?" The students all glanced across at each other, but nobody volunteered an answer. "I am your professor in chemistry," he announced, "and that is all you need to know. You'll be learning from me for the year," and the man-creature disappeared before their eyes, leaving behind a faint orange swirling mist. The displacement of his body created eddies in the air as his lingering essence rushed to fill the empty void before fading into nothing. He reappeared by one of the windows, adjusting the blinds so no light crept through. "The nature of my existence is not on the curriculum." Everyone in the room exhaled audibly at this disappearing and reappearing act. "No way! You are a Veilite, a Veline Portus." Like I said, his form disappeared and reappeared at his desk, where he propped up his glasses to the bridge of his nose once again. "I am not part of the coursework." A grinding sound filled the room as he opened a drawer at the desk. "Now, most of the year you'll be learning the fine arts of chemistry science. I'm afraid for the first few months or so it will be rather boring, as I will be teaching you the fundamentals. But I want to give you hope in your chosen class, to give a taste of what you will learn in great depth as the years go by." He lifted a dark cube from the drawer and held it up, turning it in his hand. "Can anyone tell me what this is?" "That's a dragonfire stone, sir," responded one of the students in awe. "That it is," he nodded approvingly to the boy, who answered. "Has anybody seen dragonfire before?" "Every night, sir," one of the other students added. The room laughed. "Up above us, right?" The lecturer joined in on the joke. His two figurines set everyone at ease. Talana couldn't believe how casual everything was. She'd never seen that in a class before. "I walked into that one." "Okay, let me rephrase. Has anyone ever seen a dragonfire stone before?" The students gazed across at each other, waiting for the silence to break, but the unanswered question lingered. "Doesn't surprise me." The lecturer's form disappeared and reappeared before a student in the front row, only a few paces away, his whispery orange form fading from behind the desk where he was a second ago. He reached out, offering the dark cube to the boy, who somewhat reluctantly took it. "Whoa!" His hand dropped a bit before recovering. A smile bridged across his face. "It's heavy." "Hey, let me have a hold," the boy next to him more demanded than asked. The first boy parted the object, while the second one felt the weight, seconding that it was in fact heavy. The lecturer returned to his desk in what was obviously his calling card, disappearing and reappearing before them. Talana watched him, waiting to see if he took a single step. She never saw it. Dragonfire is one of the rarest and most valuable items a person can possess. It is rarer than gold, and more sought after than indium ferrite, which you probably know as dark iron. Talana watched as the boys passed it from student to student, muttering amongst themselves while the lecturer spoke. "Can anyone tell me what it is used for?" "Forging," a boy at one of the front benches answered. Talana looked across at him. How come she hadn't heard of such a thing? "Yes, that's one of its useful uses, though so few smiths can even afford a gram that you only hear about it being used as such in the Wizard City. Most Orients don't use it for that at all. They just buy it for its perceived value. A waste, really. Does anybody know why it's so rare?" Again the room was silent. "Care to guess?" Still silence. The sound was steadily making its way from boy to boy, coming closer to Talana. She hoped they wouldn't ignore her, as she really wanted to study this miracle rock. "We call it a stone, but that's really not true. Some scholars classify it as a sedimentary rock, because dragonfire is organic in nature, but its creation process is very different. Can anyone tell me what it's made from?" More silence. "I'll give you a hint. It's in the name." "Dragons?" A couple of students hesitated as they answered, the whine in their voices more of a question than an answer. "Well, they're feces, anyway." There was silence for a second before one of the youthlings laughed. "Rather than is holding dragon poo." Most of the class laughed. The boy at the desk beside her suddenly dropped the cube and wiped his hand on his tunic. The student sitting next to Talana didn't seem to care, and he leaned over and took the cube. "Madaquox picked up the poo," the same student joked, and again everyone laughed all the more. "I remember you being quite fond of it when it was your turn." The boy next to her smirked across at him. His eyes flashed with amusement before he carefully inspected it, leaning for a sniff. His eyes turned to the offending boy. His impish grin remained as he continued. I'm pretty sure you licked it. Oh, the student next to him laughed. He did! The room devolved into various states of laughter before Maddox offered it to Talana. A challenge crossed his gaze while his smirk remained. Talana wasn't fazed at his origins. She grew up on a farm, after all. She took it and instantly felt the weight. It was heavy. Maddox's smile shifted from a smirk to approval. The girl is more woman than you, rather than, he addressed the student who dropped the lump. Talana looked more carefully at it. It really did just look like a stone. Here's the special thing about dragonfire stones, the Valite said, waving so they would quieten down, returning to the lesson at hand. It had appeared before Talana and Maddox's table, making both of them jump. Though Talana was embarrassed, she jumped more than the young woman beside her. The lecturer held out his hand, palm up, while Talana handed it over. He regarded her curiously for a faint second before disappearing and reappearing at the desk. Talana tried to subtly move her hand into the fading mist where his hand was just a fraction of a second ago, feeling the faintest of breezes. As the orange swell dissipated, she focused ahead. The lecturer put the cube inside a large leaden-like device on the desk. He then placed his hands either side of it and looked across at them. They're hard to ignite and harder to put out, but even a fraction gram of dragonfire can burn for days. He lifted one of his hands and clicked his fingers over the object. Blue flame sparked from his hand, and it instantly caught on the cube. He seemed unfazed at the sudden ballooning fire and closed the containment device. Air was allowed to flow, and the fire spread around the black thing until it was just a ball of flame. This specimen will burn for approximately 37 years if left unchecked. Murmurs of awe filled the room. Who wants a shot at putting it out? I think I'll leave it there. I'm losing my voice. That's what happens when you're not much of a talker. So, this is my third book. I'm pretty proud of it. Like any book, it's not perfect, but I think there's enough difference in there that it will really appeal to people. It's kind of a dramedy. It's very Pratchett inspired, but it's very Pratchett inspired, but also based on a lot on dreams I had as a kid. Basically, if you're a friend of Terry Pratchett, I reckon you would like this. There is quite a bit of humour in it, but it's probably more drama-ish than comedy. So, yeah, give it a go. Thank you.